welcome back. Today we are talking about page tab dividers. Some will call them page tabs, junk journal tabs, divider tabs. Anyhow, they're these little tabs that we'll put at the end of our pages in junk journals or scrapbooks or day planners or anything where you kind of want to divide up your pages. And I'll give you a quick example here. I sell lots of these in my Etsy shop, but I've got a little junk journal I'm working on here. And they're just the ones that'll come here on the edges. So if you're a beginner, that's what you kind of use them for. And if you're a seasoned junk journaler, scrapbooker, you know exactly what these are. But today I'm going to give you some different ways that you can make these and show you a few different ways that I use them. But my absolute favorite one to use is the spell binders. I use this in my die cut machine, and the one I use the most is this one. It looks like this. So then when it comes out, this little piece is down in there, and I'll just pop it out, and then it gets folded over. And that is just a really, really quick, simple way to make them. So that's by far my favorite. They do have some other sets in here, kind of a round and then a circle and a jaggedy edge and then a hexagon, which folds inside. When it folds over, it gives it 3 sides. But by far, this is my favorite and how I make almost all of them. But if you don't have one of these, you can also use just a punch. There's lots of different shapes and sizes of these that are on the market. You can go online and look, but this is just one that I happen to have. And if you don't have that, then you can use a punch board. It's another use for an envelope punch board, is to use that to make these tabs. And if you don't have that, then you can use a circle punch. And if you don't have that, I'm going to show you a way you can just use a pair of scissors to make these. So lots of different ways, from really cheap to kind of building up and making the others. So I'm going to start off with this first one. Of course, I just showed you it. Like I said, you'll just run that through. It folds over and you get these nice little tabs to put on the edge. So we'll move on to this next one, which is just this punch here, and it is pretty simple. I've cut this down to, it's about 2 inches wide. Let's do this one here. I cut it about 2 inches wide, and I'm going to fold over this whole section here. Because when you do it on this particular one, it needs to be folded in half. And my cold fold isn't perfect, but that's okay. We'll straighten it up. And then I'll pop it open. And I'm going to take the folded end. So this is my not folded side, my folded end. And I'm going to flip it upside down so I can actually see that it's going to hit all the ends there. Oh, get my fingers widen up here. Okay. Make sure it's all in there and flat, and just give it a punch. And these do little small ones. So with these small ones, they are great to use to put at the top of like the little journal cards that you have. They'll work. Oh. They'll work as well, you know, of course, on any little journal edge, but they work really great for journal cards. And I've made quite a few of these. Since these are in a smaller size, I like to put them on these journal cards. And then you can also use them as a little tab to pull out on the top of that. Just a card inside of a pocket card. So lots of little uses for these little guys. And that's how simple those are. So if you don't have one of these, it just makes a quick way to do that as well. Okay, so we've got that one and we've got that one. So let's move on to using our punch board. If you happen to have one, this is a really little fun way. Let me grab another piece over here. Okay, I've got some little pieces, other little pieces here that are cut. And these are, let me see what I wrote down. These are 2 inches by 1 3/4 inches. So when they're done, they're going to be about the size of these. So I'm going to just take one here. I'm going to fold it in half. Try to get it in half as good as I can. And press down. And then on this board, let me flip this up so you can see. Use my little pointer here. It's got a little metal piece that when you punch down, you know you've got your grooves here, but it's got a little metal piece that you could see right in there. And then it's also got where the two ends meet here. So I am going to use this piece and go right in that middle part where I can see the metal and right where those two ends meet and push up against the edge. And then I'm just going to punch. And that's going to give me the groove for this edge. And then I'm going to flip it over and do the same thing. Go right to the middle and a punch. And then as you can see, it's a little bit different design. Of course, all these are going to be a little different design no matter what you're using. But that's how I do the third one for these. And then another idea that you can do for these, let me bring back another piece of this. These are double-sided. I'm going to fold this in half again. This is a 2" by 1 3/4 inch. Fold that. And on this little guy, I'm just going to use this little circle punch. This one happens to be 3/4 inch, but you can really use whatever circle punch that you have. And I take the bottom off of mine so I can see through that good. And I'm just going to line up. Again, this has this coming down so I can kind of see where the center is going to be. Make sure I got my folded end in there. And I'm going to come in just a little bit and give it a punch. And then I'm going to do the same thing on this side. A little more. And that's pretty even. I need to do it just a little more on this side. It looks like I didn't quite capture that. And I think that looks better. So that's another way to do those. And of course, if you don't want those little curved edges, you can just do these simply by folding over a little scrap piece that you might have. And just attaching it like this, just so it's got a little edge on it. Let me bring over one of these cards that I have here. And you can just put those at the top. Let's say that's the side of your page. And you can just attach it like that, and you don't even have to have an edging on there if you don't want. It could just look simply like that with it sticking out just a little bit. So that's another idea. So we've got that one. We'll move that over. And then for the last one I wanted to show you, I think I've got one more piece over here. Maybe I don't. We'll use this one. Let's just cut it to size here real fast. Just use that as a template so I don't have to bring my trimmer over. It's going to be good enough just to show you what I want here. Let's go this way for this one. I love these double-sided ones because you can get a couple choices out of them. Then these flowered ones always look so pretty whenever they're lined up in a book. So the last one for this, I'm just going to use a pair of scissors and I'm going to just trim off the edge. Let's go about there. And one thing I can do on here that I can't do with those little rounder ones is I can flip this over, put it on the edge so I've got it even on both sides. Or at least pretty close. I think, whoop, we'll trim it up just a little bit. We'll just keep doing it till we get it. Okay, so we actually ended up with 6 ways to do these page tabs. We have one that's just the fold over, and then we have another one that was just our scissors, and then we had one that was with our circle punch, and then one with our We Are Memory Keepers envelope punch board. And then we had our normal punch. And then my favorite, of course, is with the Spellbinders die cut. I do get asked a lot, how do you attach these to, when they have no adhesive on it, how do you attach them to a junk journal card or to the side page of your junk journal? And there are several different ways that you can do that. You can simply just use a stapler and that'll work just fine. It'll hold it in place. You can use a tape runner. Another way, you just put it on both sides and then make sure, you know, when you put it in that you tighten it down really well. You can use glues, like a Tombow Mono liquid glue. My favorite way that I always end up doing it is just use a glue stick. That's probably my very favorite. And then I just make sure it's adhered well. I've also seen you can use washi tape in it. I would suggest if you use washi tape, you know, that's going to cover the very bottom part. Let's grab one real quick. And of course you can pull that out. I'll just show you real quick how pretty that would be using a washi tape, because it gives it just another extra layer there that's going to give a little bit more character to it. But I would advise when you do that, that you do put in a little, you know, you could come along and trim it through here. If you do that, I would go ahead and add a little bit of extra glue in there on both sides, just because washi tape, most washi tape isn't real sticky. I mean, it's meant to be pulled off, so that just to make sure that it's going to adhere well for you. But those are just a few ways that I like to attach it. But like I said, my favorite by far is just using a glue stick. So 6 ways to use these, and I hope that it helped you be able to do at least one way if you hadn't thought of it. I'm sure all you seasoned veterans are like, oh yeah, I know that. But for beginners, I always think it's kind of nice to go and show some ways to do it. So that's all I have for today, guys. Hope you're having a wonderful day. We'll see you next time.